This is unfortunately going to be my final track day with this car, because after today my MX-5 is never going to be the same again. But more on that later. For now, let's just enjoy what might be one of the last times I get to properly stretch its legs. We're at Winton Motor Raceway today, one of my favourite places for what I like to call a casual Sunday drive. And by casual I mean absolutely not casual at all. My personal best around here is a 1 minute 28, and if everything lines up perfectly, I'd love to go even quicker. But it's been a while, so I'm feeling a bit rusty. Chances of nailing that perfect lap are questionable, but maybe it's possible. If you're new here, this is my Mazda MX-5. It's originally a Japanese roadster, imported into Australia over 13 years ago. And over time it's evolved into a fairly serious little track weapon. Under the bonnet it still runs the Mazda 1.8 VVT engine, but with a built bottom end and a turbocharger pushing about 18 psi, making around 300 horsepower, somewhere in the realm of 220 kilowatts. That is of course to the rear wheels. It's a handful, but a very fun handful. The gearbox is the standard Mazda 6-speed, even though the shifter looks like something out of a touring car. That is a CAE shifter. It's still an H pattern, but it gives you that super mechanical, super positive feeling every time I change gears. Aero-wise, the car has a functional DIY front splitter. Sure, it's definitely not perfect, but it works. And it has a far more impressive rear wing, made from vacuum-infused carbon fibre. It's big, it's beefy, and it actually provides a decent amount of downforce at speed. Of course, the mod list goes on and on beyond that. I've got a stripped interior, lots of custom parts, some DIY bits and pieces, a lot of 3D printing even. There's a custom fuel system, upgraded fuel pump and injectors. There's obviously a whole bunch of work to make the turbocharger work. Under the bonnet, there's a bunch of bits removed, things like power steering and air conditioning. But then, of course, I added back electric power steering because I was getting old and my arms were getting sore. Interior-wise, there is, of course, a roll cage because I'd rather not die if I do have the inevitable incident. But ideally, I never need to use that cage. The car's been stripped out in all areas, from the boot to the interior. There's no carpets or sound deadening. So when I drive this thing, it's pretty rattly and quite noisy. Now today's a bit of a treat, because the session is surprisingly quiet. Aside of course from this S15 with the LS1 power under the bonnet, what a spicy looking car. So there is not too much traffic out on track, which is rare. And it gives me a nice little bubble of open space to try settle into a rhythm and push for some clean laps. I've been driving around this track for over 15 years now, and in that time, the circuit has certainly evolved. They've made changes to the layout, they've extended certain parts of the runoff or improved the curbing around some of the corners, which means the track has become faster and the surface has become nicer to drive on. With that, of course, means lap times come down. And so this track has always been such a fun place to come. It's really complex, it's quite a technical circuit, and there's some corners that are really tricky to get right, particularly around the back section of the circuit where there's a right, left, right complex of corners. They're really hard to understand how to get the best line through them. I still have no idea if I'm actually getting it right. Sometimes I just throw the car into a corner and pray that I'm doing the right thing. But nonetheless, it's a fun track to come to. It's only about 3 hours drive from home, which isn't too bad, I suppose. But I will always acknowledge that I'm very blessed with having so many amazing racetracks so close to home. And this is just one of them. Some of you may notice the little LED light strip on the steering wheel. That's my homemade Arduino-based sequential shift light. It actually works really well on my road car, but I didn't get enough time to fully set it up in the race car before today. So it lights up, but the RPM signal isn't connected properly, meaning it's basically a glorified decoration. Hopefully, I get it working for next time. I've done a few other things to the car recently that I haven't necessarily shared online. For example, I've added an oil accumulator, sometimes known as an AccuSump, to help with ensuring that oil pressure is maintained in the car even under heavy G loads. If you'd be interested to see how I've done that, where I've mounted it, how I've routed the oil lines, and why exactly I've done it, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to create a video that sort of showcases why I've done it and what it looks like. I've also redesigned my front fender vents or vents in my guards to make them even more substantial, a little bit more aggressive, and I kind of took inspiration from the Porsche 911 GT3 RS, where it's got this saw-tooth edge to it. The vents that I originally designed many years ago have gone through a few iterations themselves, but this new vent is by far the biggest and most substantial change I've done. So I hope to show you what those look like in the very near future. I added my own new upgraded brake caliper mounts for the front brakes. A few years ago I had a caliper bracket failure that some of you may remember, and so I designed my own new ones, had those machined, and I've installed those, and they've been running and working absolutely fantastic. But for the most part, mechanically and driveline wise, nothing substantial has changed. I just kind of get in the car and drive it, and yeah, I guess I need to do a bit of maintenance here and there, but usually the car's pretty good. Of course, if you've got any questions or you'd like to see anything in detail, please do let me know. I do love to share what happens with the car and help others learn from my mistakes. Alright, I think it's time we get back to focusing on the driving, Brendan. On my first proper flying lap, that is the first lap, where the tyres and the brakes are warmed up and I'm going flat out, I manage a 1 minute 30, which is okay, not bad for shaking the rust off. The second and third laps, both of them I dip into the 1 minute 29s, which starts to build my confidence again. The car feels good, the track is clear. Is a 1 minute 28 suddenly possible? But Motorsport loves drama. On what was looking to be my best lap of the day, I catch slower traffic right near the end of the lap, just before the second last corner. And once you get held up there, that's it. You lose all your momentum down the straight. So basically, the lap is done. Later, when I reviewed the GoPro footage and I kind of estimated the time loss, turns out the lap was probably going to be another mid-29 anyway. So it wasn't going to be the magical 1:28 I was hoping for. But it still stings a little when you're on a good run. After that, I decide it's time for a cool down and to head back into the pits. Which brings us to the big question. Why is this going to be my final event? Well, there's a big button down below, the one that says subscribe. Hit that and I'll tell you. You clicked it? Perfect. Here is why I'm not going to be driving this car anymore.